was a quiet night in the town of Pripyat, Ukraine. Children were fast asleep, others were outside to enjoy the air. But then, explosion. From the distance, a fire could be seen gushing out of Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. From inside the control room, chaos has ensued as everyone in that room realized what had just transpired. However, no one, not even the residents surrounding the power plant, knows what is to come. April 25th, 1 a.m. In the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, preparations are being made for a safety test on Reactor 4. The test was meant to see if electricity could still be produced even if there was a power failure. 2 p.m. The cooling system for the reactor is shut off to prevent any interference during the test. However, this will only make everything worse for what will happen. 11:10 p.m. The test is allowed to proceed, although by now there are less experienced operators at the job. These people weren't even aware of how to manage the test, and therefore had little knowledge on how to solve it. 12:28 a.m. There is xenon built up within the core, poisoning it when it was supposed to burn away. However, because the reactor was only held at half power, there was still xenon by the time the test was underway. 1 a.m. It seems as everything is fine and the test can commence. All safety features and emergency systems are turned off in order to continue. 1:23:04. Comrade Diátlov orders the start of the test, but then something unusual happens. There is a sudden and unexpected power surge within the reactor, but this was only the start of it. 1:23:40. AZ5 is pressed, which is an emergency button in an attempt to decrease and stop the reaction. Control watch, which contain boron, are inserted, but what everyone in the control room didn't realize was that the tips were made of graphite, which increases reactivity. 1:23:45. There is an explosion. The 1,000-ton roof of the reactor is instantly blown off. Shortly after, there is yet another explosion within the core, this one being even more intense. Firefighters are called to handle the fire, but they are walking into a plethora of radiation, as all of them are immediately swarmed with it. There is graphite debris everywhere, as reactors 1, 2, and 3 are shut down. Thus begins the worst nuclear disaster in human history. The Soviet Union immediately began plans on how to contain the fire at the reactor. They decided on using sand, nitrogen, and lead, and it would take 2 weeks for the fire to be completely extinguished. Meanwhile, the surrounding town of Pripyat was completely unaware of the radiation, and the evacuation of the town didn't come until the next day, which increased their chance of getting hit by doses. Approximately 50,000 residents were moved, and they were told that it would be temporary. Most of them would never return to their own homes.
Однако, с целью обеспечения полной безопасности людей и в первую очередь детей возникает необходимость провести временную эвакуацию жителей города в пункты Киевской области.
The Soviet Union had wanted to keep the disaster a secret, and so they tried to contain any spread of information. However, the spread of radiation could not be contained. In Sweden, there were unusually high levels of radiation at one of the nuclear power plants. The direction of the wind had dictated the path from Chernobyl. Then on April 28th, the true nature of the disaster was reported, and so the whole world was now aware of it. An exclusion zone was made around the power plant, and within it, everything had been hit with radiation. This included animals as well, which had to be put down. Graphite debris had also been blown out onto the roof of Reactor 4, and so the Soviets looked for ways to clear it, so they went to West Germany. It says something like this. "Hey, West Germany, do you mind lending us a rover?" And West Germany said, "Sure, but how much radiation is there?" "Oh, it's only 2,000 Rontgen." "Alright, here you go. Okay, see ya." Actually, in reality, numbers went as high as 20,000 Rontgen per hour at Chernobyl. Unfortunately, the robots immediately broke down as the radiation was too intensive for them, and so, manual labor was needed. Liquidators had got onto the roof and shoveled the graphite debris off themselves. Most of them were Soviet reserves. They would all be hit with high doses, as a Geiger counter which measured radiation was clicking furiously, a sound that would be forever burnt into their minds. After the explosion in Reactor 4, experts were called in to investigate what had happened, one of them being Valery Legasov. Legasov had a happy life. He was married and had 2 children, so when he heard about Chernobyl, his life would be changed forever. Although he was a radiochemistry specialist, he was still put in to join a group of nuclear physicists at Chernobyl. When he got to the exclusion zone, his views of Soviet socialism soured. This led him to expose the secrets the USSR had been attempting to keep. However, his life would not last much longer, as he was already hit with radiation that would kill him within a few years. So, on the 2-year anniversary of the Chernobyl explosion, he took his own life. He recorded audio tapes explaining his grueling experience. His suicide made it nearly impossible for the Soviet Union to contain the truth, a truth that had been buried in lies. In 2017, a new sarcophagus was built over Reactor 4, but this will only last for a century. The true death toll of Chernobyl is unknown, as the Soviets made no records of their fate. Today, the place is a tourist attraction, but for those who suffered during the disaster, it was anything but peaceful.